Alright, here's my audience. Alright. July 4th, 1776 marked a huge day for American history. On this date, the Declaration of Independence was signed at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The delegates from the 13 colonies assembled to discuss the ideas Thomas Jefferson had expressed in his writing of the Declaration of Independence. The signing of the Declaration of Independence had changed the way of the average American life. America had many struggles from being under the rule of Great Britain. Many of the struggles were along the lines of taxation issues. Although most Americans were involved in the protesting of the heavy taxation policies the British established, taxation still remained a problem in America. Popular politicians knew that change needed to be made, so they gathered to create a document known as the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence had signified that the 13 colonies had disconnected from Britain. This made America its own nation and allowed the alliance of France to help in the war against Great Britain. Jefferson went to school at the College of William and Mary, where he studied law and was involved in the local government. He was also the third president of the United States. Thomas Jefferson was a public official, historian, philosopher, and plantation owner. He served his country for over 5 decades. Jefferson was always interested in politics, and he demonstrates this by his outstanding accomplishments. Thomas Jefferson represented Virginia and was a member of the Committee of Five, along with John Adams, Massachusetts, Benjamin Franklin, Pennsylvania, Roger Sherman, Connecticut, and Robert R. Livingston, New York. John Adams persuaded the others to let Thomas Jefferson write the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson presented the finished copy of the Declaration of Independence to the others on July 2nd, and was approved by each member of the committee. The document was ratified on Independence Day, July 4th, 1776. Thomas Jefferson had several components that greatly impacted what he included in the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson had read many writings from John Locke about how he believed people have natural rights. Many believe this writing, along with Common Sense by Thomas Paine, influenced some of his ideas written in the Declaration of Independence. Along with these two influential writers, people say his professor, Dr. William Small, had an impact on Jefferson's political knowledge due to teaching Jefferson for over 4 years at the College of William and Mary. Many believe this because he writes about natural rights and freedom in the Declaration of Independence itself. Thomas Jefferson said, "I did not consider it a part of my charge to invent new ideas, but to place before mankind the common sense of the subject." This quote has also led historians to believing that he strongly postulated in being born with natural rights. The preamble included in the Declaration of Independence is one of the most significant parts. Here, Thomas Jefferson starts the Declaration with many powerful statements explaining the United States' independence from Great Britain. "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, but they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Jefferson holds a lot of meaning in a very few words in his preamble. He states that all men are created equal, giving rights to every citizen in the United States. Jefferson adds that if the unalienable rights are infracted or unprotected, then the people have the right to overcome the government to conserve these rights. Jefferson also summarizes in the preamble that the government is only as powerful as the people of the United States make it, concluding that the government is not its own power but that of the people. Jefferson does a great job of explaining this when he stated, "When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty." The preamble also talks about how it is one's responsibility to step forth and overthrow the government if such government should rid the people of their natural-born rights. Even though the preamble does not do anything other than inform what is to be further revealed in the Declaration of Independence, it is still one of the most favored, historical, and famous writings of his era. The Declaration of Independence did not only affect the United States citizens, but also the people of France and Great Britain. The Declaration of Independence was used as a propaganda piece to convince France, the United States, and other enemies of Britain. The Declaration of Independence mainly attacks King George III on how he was a tyranny-led leader. and was taking away the United States' unalienable rights. Thomas Jefferson demonstrates many of the king's unconstitutional acts by stating them. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. Here, Thomas Jefferson tries to explain that after all the attempts the legislative has tried to rid of King George III, they have not been successful. Jefferson uses the word exercises to explain all the people's attempts to retaliate against the Stamp Act, Sugar Act, Townshend Act, and Quartering Act, all placed on the people by King George III himself. Thomas Jefferson also calls out King George III for cutting off trade with the world, for stripping citizens the benefits sought in trial, for getting rid of the United States charter laws, and revising the government. When Thomas Jefferson sat down and wrote the Declaration of Independence, he hoped to persuade the colonists and other countries worldwide that what Great Britain was doing was wrong because they were infracting the God-given rights. He also wanted to explain why the colonists had the right to rebel and that the government should support and lead the rebellion because it is the government's responsibility to protect and defend the natural-born rights of the American citizen. In conclusion, Thomas Jefferson was very involved in his nation's politics by studying law and also later in his life being a member in the Committee of Five. Thomas Jefferson had many motivations which included John Locke, Thomas Paine's common sense, and other natural rights believers. Thomas Jefferson hoped to persuade the colonists that they have the right to rebel and that the government should protect the rebellion, because it is the government's responsibility to protect those rights. Jefferson stated clearly in the preamble that every man shall be created equal and that they are born with natural rights, and that they have the right to overthrow the government to protect these unalienable rights. In the body of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson talks about the tyranny. In conclusion, Thomas Jefferson was very involved in his nation's politics by studying law and also later in his life being a member of the Committee of Five. Thomas Jefferson had many motivations which included John Locke, Thomas Paine's common sense, and other natural rights believers. Thomas Jefferson hoped to persuade the colonists that they have the right to rebel and that the government should protect the rebellion because it is the government's responsibility to protect those rights. Jefferson stated clearly in the preamble that every man shall be created equal and that they are born with natural rights and that they have the right to overthrow the government to protect these unalienable rights. In the body of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson talks about the tyranny King George III ran, and that the taxes and other infractions he imposed on the United States were unconstitutional. The Declaration of Independence is one of the most strict and powerful pieces in American history. To this day, the law still follows, represents, and protects everything that falls under the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson has changed and shaped the way our government is looked at today.